Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just looking at the list of attendees that are online so far, and it appears that we have all of our counselors, and we have our CAO clerk and our planner, John Jackson. Madam Clerk, are we expecting anyone else before we start?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, our Public Works Manager will join us a little bit later on once the staff report section of the meeting comes forward.
Okay, thank you. And I see that our fire chief is also on the line. So anyway, let me welcome everyone and let me welcome everyone, call the meeting to order. We will start with, as we usually do, start our open session with the playing of the national anthem, followed by our Indigenous land acknowledgement statement.
I think it's muted.
Okay, thank you. We did not get audio on that, Madam Clerk, but I guess we're still having technical difficulties.
Sorry about that. I can try again if you like.
Well, I think everyone was able to watch the pictures, so we'll try again next time. And thanks for trying anyway. The municipality of Whitestone recognizes all of Canada resides on traditional, unceded, and/or treaty lands of the Indigenous people of Turtle Island. We recognize our municipality on the Robinson-Huron Treaty Territory is home to many past, present, and future Indigenous families. This acknowledgement of the land is a declaration of our commitment and collective responsibility to reconcile the past and to honor and value the culture, history, and relationships we have with one another. So I will now invite councillors to declare any pecuniary interest they may have in tonight's proceedings. All right, hearing nothing, let the record show that there was none declared. Could we get a motion then to approve the agenda as circulated, please?
I'll make
I'll
the
make-
motion, Counselor Lamb.
Thank you, Counselor Lamb, seconded by Counselor Gorham Matthews. Did I hear
Yes,
you?
I'll second it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is anyone opposed to this being the agenda? All right, thank you. Prior to this upper hour, we did have a closed session. And we do have one matter arising from that closed session, which is the closed session meeting minutes for the regular council meeting of April 19th, 2022. Could I get a mover and seconder, please, that council approve those minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Gorham Matthews, seconded by,
I'll second Councilor McEwen.
thank you, Councillor McEwen. Anyone opposed to approving those minutes? Thank you. They're approved. Next on the agenda will be item 8, planning items, and for one planning item. And for that, we'll move as usual into committee of the whole. Could I get a mover and seconder, please, to move into committee of the whole for this item?
I'll move,
move.
Councillor Woods.
Thank you,
I'll
Councillor
second
Woods,
Councilor McEwen.
seconded by Councillor McEwen. Let council move into committee of the whole at 6:43 PM. Any opposed? All right, thank you. We are in committee of the whole. The item that we have is a consent application from Mrs. Anderson, I think. And I will ask our planner, John Jackson, to introduce it briefly, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is an application actually involving lands owned by Langford on Balsam Road that includes a lot addition to the Anderson property to add the area behind their property to correct an encroachment of an existing septic system. So it's a lot addition, which traditionally, and in this case, is also true that this is a very housekeeping kind of land transaction in terms of substance. So it's quite straightforward, and we have no difficulty recommending it for approval.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from council? Questions or counsels from anyone on the call? All right, that was that was quick. Not that I'm objecting or anything, but if there are no comments or questions, what will happen is once we return to once we return to the regular session, you will see a motion to approve this. So anyway, if there are no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion to reconvene into the regular meeting.
I'll move.
Thank you, Councillor Woods, seconded by,
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
Okay, I got Counselor Gorham Matthews. So it is now 6:45 PM. And if there are no objections to this motion, then we are back in regular session. And that may set the record for the fastest planning item we've had, at least in recent memory. So 8.1, matters arising from committee of the whole. I would look for a mover and seconder for the following. Whereas John Jackson Planner Incorporated has prepared a report for the Parry Sound Area Planning Board regarding consent application B12/2022 Whitestone. The applicant's name is Anderson, in respect of a lot addition, and provided a copy to the municipality of Whitestone. Now therefore be it resolved that the council of the municipality of Whitestone receives this report as information, and that the council of the municipality of Whitestone recommends this consent application for approval in principle, subject to the following condition. 1, that the applicant's solicitor confirms in writing that the transferred lands merge in title with the benefiting lands. Can I get a mover and seconder, please?
I'll move it, Counselor Lamb.
Thank you, Counselor Lamb, seconded by
I'll second Counselor Woods.
Counselor Woods. Any discussion of this motion? If not, I will ask our clerk to call the roll for the vote, please.
Counselor Gorham Matthews,
Yes.
Counselor Lamb,
Yes.
Counselor McEwen,
Yes.
Counselor Woods,
Yes.
Mayor Comrie.
Yes,
Thank you. That motion is carried.
thank you. And that brings us to item 10, which is our consent agenda. And there are 3 items on the consent agenda tonight. The first one is the regular council meeting minutes for Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022. Second one is the minutes of the Whitestone Public Library and Technology Center meeting on March 20. That's the board meeting on March 21st, 22nd, March 21st, 2022. And the third item is the unfinished business that's listed on page 5 of your agenda. Could I get a mover and seconder, please, that Council of Municipality of Whitestone approve the council meeting minutes of May 7th, 2022, and receives for information all other items contained in the consent agenda dated May 17th, 2022.
I will move, Counselor McEwen.
Thank you, Councilor McEwen, seconded by
I'll second.
Councilor Gorham Matthews. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anyone opposed to this approving the consent items? All right, thank you. That motion is carried. And can I take it that there are no matters arising from the consent agenda? All right, thank you. That brings us to accounts payable. Could I get a mover and seconder, please, that the council of the municipality of Whitestone receive for information the accounts payable listing in the amount of $248,893.86 for the period May 1st, 2022 to May 15th, 2022.
I'll make the motion, Counselor Lamb.
Thank you. Seconded by,
I'll second, Counselor Woods.
Counselor Woods. Thank you. All right. Are there any questions or comments concerning payables?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, item 551, just a quick inquiry. I don't, my computer's sort of gone dead here, but I wrote it down. Knox United Church, and then right below it, it says office supplies and an amount. Like, could someone explain that? What's that?
Good question. I was going to ask the same one.
Could I get that check number again, Counselor
Yeah.
Lamb?
It's 551. I don't have, again, sorry about my computer's gone wonky here, but the number beside it was 551. And
Okay,
it says
It's on,
Knox United Church, and then there's 3 or 4 entries.
it's on page 32 of 52 near the top, and it says Local Authority Services Limited, and then in brackets, it says Knox United Church. I don't,
hmm. Yes, I'll have a look at these invoice and see what we've got here.
I understand what LAS isn't surprising. That's a shared purchasing service that is operated under the auspices of Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO. And so we do use them for, it involves bulk purchasing and so on of things, but I'm not sure why Knox United Church is listed there.
Yeah, I do wonder if that's an error, because we use LAS for a lot of our office supplies that actually come from Staples. It runs through LAS. I'm not quickly finding the invoice, and although we seem to have lots of time here, I think the best thing I can do is do a little bit of research in the morning, and I'll email council and let you know what that situation is.
Okay,
Thank you. I have one more.
go ahead, please.
Yeah, number, and again, I apologize for not having the page, but number 561, which is FAD Architects, in the amount of 66,6475. I wondered if while you're looking to email in the morning to council, my question is how much, this was to do with the architectural design, et cetera, for the renovated office building. I wondered if you could total up the bills that we paid to FAD and just let us know, because I know we've approved 2 or 3 of them at least along the way. So I'm just asking for a sort of a grand total. And my second question on that is whether that grand total, whatever it is, whether that is the amount that was included in the 165,000, whether that was included in the total cost of the office reno. So that's a double-barreled sort of thing, but those are my questions. Thank you.
I've made note of that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Are
just
there-
let us know tomorrow. That's fine. That's all the questions I have.
Mr. Mayor, one question.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilor McEwen.
Yeah, on page 28, 36503 through 36509, they're listed as spoiled during printing. And there's no references or anything on that, no money. I'm curious about that.
I'll explain that the best I can based on what I heard from our AP clerk, that in the process of entering some invoices, the computer system crashed. And so the actual amounts were kind of hung up and not transferred to they were transferred to a check number, but they actually weren't transferred to our general ledger. And from what I understand, she had to back these items out, cancel those check numbers, and they were reissued with other check numbers. So it would just seem to be a computer error that had to be corrected, but the check numbers had to be accounted for, and they're just noted as spoiled.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments regarding payables? Okay, then, I guess we can move then to staff reports. And the first one,
If I may, Mr. Mayor, we probably should have a vote on that.
oh, I apologize. Madam Clerk, you're right. I usually what I do with these is simply ask if there is any objection to approving the payables since they're for information now. Is there any objection? All right, hearing none, the report is received. Now, item 12. The first report is 12.1, having to do with restricted acts of council during a so-called lame duck period. I will ask for a mover and seconder that the Council of the Municipality of Whitestone hereby receives report admin 2022-09 entitled 2022 Municipal Election Restricted Acts of Council during lame duck periods for information. Can I get a mover and seconder, please?
I'll move.
Councillor Gorham Matthews,
I'll second Councilor McEwen.
seconded by Councillor McEwen. Now I'm going to invite the clerk to just introduce the report briefly. Just in case you're wondering, the reason that there is no that this is just for information and there's no action item is that a couple of agenda items further in the bylaw section, council will be asked to pass a bylaw which in fact would delegate some authority during a lame duck period. And so probably what should happen is you should have a look while you're thinking about this, you should have a look at the bylaw that is included in section 13. It'll be 13.1. Anyway, do you want to go ahead, Madam CAO, and give us an overview of this one?
Yes, you would like me to speak to this?
Yeah, well, if you want to.
Yes, I'll just be brief. Some of our council members have seen this previously, and the Municipal Act identifies restricted acts after nomination day, as well as after the election. So there's two periods where lame duck could apply, and I've hopefully outlined it simply in the report. And it'll apply firstly based on a calculation. So if less than 3/4 of the sitting council are either nominated or are not nominated or not elected, then the council is in lame duck. And it for the municipality of Whitestone, that means 3/4 of your council is 4 members. So if less than 4 members of the current council file nomination papers, then you're in lame duck. If 4 or more current members of council file nomination papers, but less than 4 are elected, then between the election day, which is October 24th, and when the new council sits on November 15th, then there's another lame duck period. And of note, council can continue to make decisions and do all the things they normally do, except for 4 items, and they're very specific. And that's the appointment or removal from office of an officer of the municipality, the hiring or dismissal of an employee of the municipality. And that one is particularly interesting because during those time periods I mentioned, there may be a need to hire winter control operators. That sometimes happens. The disposition of any real property, which has value exceeding $50,000, and making any expenditure or incurring any liability which exceeds $50,000. That said, the exception is, it does not apply to the disposition or liability if the disposition or liability was included in the most recent budget. So for example, we'll be spending a fair bit of money on the nursing station, and there will be payment certificates that come throughout the summer. If council is in lame duck, because that's an approved project in the current budget, then we can continue to proceed to pay those invoices as they come through. It's just that if something new comes forward, the unexpected, then you can give the CEO, in his case, Whitestone, the CEO, the authority to manage that. So I think that, as I said, there's 2 particular lame duck periods, and the lame duck bylaw typically, and this was done last time, it typically gives the CAO a measure of authority to proceed if expenses are required. And there's a requirement that I would report back to council at the next available council meeting. And that's in the bylaw. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hopefully that explains what this is, and it happens every 4 years when there's a municipal election.
So I wonder, just in the interest of not having 2 separate discussions about this item, if I could ask councilors to look at the bylaw itself in section 13. And maybe we can just quickly run down what's covered in that bylaw. Essentially, what is happening is that we're delegating to the chief administrative officer authority to do really 4 things, I guess. In a lame duck period, if it occurs. The first one, they're listed on, if you look on page 45 of 52 of your agenda package. Item A, the appointment or removal from office of any officer of the municipality. It says or, but it should say of any officer of the municipality. B, the hiring or dismissal of any employee of the municipality. C, the disposition of any real or personal property of the municipality which has a value exceeding $50,000 at the time of disposal. And D, making any expenditures or incurring any other liability which exceeds $50,000. So those are the powers that are being delegated by this bylaw. Are there any questions or comments? Sounds like there aren't. Okay. All right, then. Right now, what we have in front of us is a motion to receive the report. Can I assume that there is no objection to receiving the report? All right, thank you. We will approve receiving the report, and we'll come back to the bylaw in a second. Item 12.2, a tender to supply, deliver calcium chloride. Dust control. Gonna get a mover and seconder that the council of the municipality of Whitestone hereby receives report PW 2022-05, which is the tender award for the supply, delivery, and application of 140,000 liters of calcium chloride or alternate that meets standard OPSS 2501 for information, and that the council of the municipality of Whitestone does hereby award the contract for tender 2022-08 for the supply, delivery, and application of 140,000 liters of calcium chloride to Daily Dust Control in the amount of $49,000 plus HST. So who will move that?
I'll move it, Counselor Lamb.
All right, thank you. Seconded by,
I'll second Council McEwen.
okay, thank you, Councillor McEwen. So we have the motion on the floor. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at my list here. Is our Public Works Manager? Yeah, yes, he is. So Dave Creaser has joined us on the call. Dave, would you like to comment on this?
Certainly. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We we have another dust-filled season ahead of us that we're looking to put down. So we've got dust control. We have received the similar price to last year. So we are ecstatic about that. With all the changes to the price of fuel and shortage of drivers, we are quite happy to say that we have the same price. So that's great news for us with no increases. We do have enough material to put down on Farley's Road with the new gravel, and also the portion of Maple Island that we're going to rip up, pulverize the surface treatment and add fresh gravel for this year, with new surface to be placed on it next year. So that will allow us to put dust suppression on those as well. And we couldn't come at a better time. We just got over that dust ball that we had last couple of weeks, which is quite a surprise to us. So our ratepayers will be quite happy to see that come out. The first scheduled truck will be this Friday. If this does pass, that the truck will come out, and we'll continue to put it out each Friday thereafter, and hopefully get this out in short order. Our grader's been preparing all our roads, and people will be happy to see this out. Any questions?
Great, thank you, David. Are there any questions or comments on this report? Okay, then, are you ready for the question? If so, I will ask our CAO to call the roll, please.
Thank you. Councillor Gore Matthews,
Yes.
Councillor Lamb,
Yes.
Councillor McEwen,
Yes,
Councillor Woods,
Yes.
Mayor Comrie.
Yes,
Thank you. That motion is carried.
all right, thank you. So that then brings us back to the bylaw to delegate authority. Gonna get a mover and seconder for this motion, please, that the Council of the Municipality of Whitestone does hereby approve bylaw 30-2022 to authorize delegated authority for certain acts during the restricted authority, i.e. lame duck council period, be read a first and second time the 17th day of May 2022, and further read a third time, passed and properly signed and sealed this 17th day of May 2022 and numbered bylaw 30-2022. Mover and seconder.
I'll move, Councillor McEwen.
Thank you, Councillor McEwen, seconded by.
I can second.
Thank you, Councillor Gorman Matthews. Is there any further discussion? Going once. Going twice. All right. Once again, I will ask our clerk to call the roll for the vote, please.
Excuse me, Councillor Gore Matthews,
Yes.
Councillor Lamb,
Yes,
Councillor McEwen,
Yes,
Councillor Woods,
Yes.
Mayor Comrie.
Yes.
That motion is carried.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to item 14, which is business matters. And item 14.1 is a proclamation of June as Seniors Month in the municipality. My recollection is that we've done this before. But anyway, I'll read the motion and ask for a mover and seconder. Whereas Seniors Month is an annual nationwide celebration, and whereas seniors have contributed and continue to contribute immensely to the life and vibrancy of the Whitestone community, and whereas seniors continue to serve as leaders, mentors, volunteers, and important and active members of this community, and whereas their contributions, past and present, warrant appreciation and recognition, and their stories deserve to be told, and whereas the health and well-being of seniors is in the interest of all and further adds to the health and well-being of the community, and whereas the knowledge and experience seniors pass on to us continues to benefit all, now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor George Comrie, do hereby proclaim the month of June 22 as Seniors Month in the municipality of Whitestone, and encourage all citizens to recognize and celebrate the accomplishments of our seniors. And further, that the municipality of Whitestone make a donation in the amount of $500 to Perry Sound Community Living for services and programs in support of the municipality of Whitestone seniors. Is there a mover and seconder for this motion?
I'll move, Councillor Woods.
Thank you, Councillor Woods. Seconded by
I'll second.
Councillor Gorman Matthews. All right, thank you. It's open for discussion.
well, it's just nice to see the youngins making the motion for the seniors, right?
good point.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Are there any other observations about this?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Gorman
I believe
Matthews.
last year, we also made a donation to community support services. I'm not sure if that's something that we were going to accompany this proclamation again this year. They do a lot of work in the RIDE program and the Diners Club. They did the crock pot program as well, just all programs that really support seniors and helping seniors remain vital in their homes. So I'm wondering if we were going to do that as well.
So if I can perhaps ask our CAO, the donation that is listed here, it says to Perry Sound Community Living. Was that the organization that we intended that you intended this should? I think Councillor Gorham Matthews is referring to Community Social Services.
Well, if I may, this was a copy of the resolution from last year, and I'm hoping that we have the name correct. Because we've already had outreach from, whether it's Perry Sound Community Living or the other service group that you mentioned, Councillor Gorham Matthews. They are the folks that do the Diners Club, and in fact, they actually have an event planned for seniors for it's almost a full day of, which includes the lunch and the speaker and some other activities for June. We're just trying to land on the day. So I believe we're talking about the same group of people, and I'm just wondering if we have the name correct. And I will mention the name Linda Taylor, who many of you know. This is the group that we're supporting, that she has oversight of. So if we have the name incorrect, we got it incorrect last year, but it's definitely the organization. The intent is that organization. So
Okay.
I will make an administrative correction to that resolution if in fact we have the incorrect name.
Yeah, I believe it is Community Support Services, not Community Living.
Okay,
That
well, thank you
Linda
for that.
links with, yes.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification, because that's when I read it, I thought, gee, my assumption was that it was the specific group that Linda Taylor and so on, who actually operate out of Belvedere and Perry Sound, and
Yes.
they I think we call them CSS, so I guess that is Community Support Services is what I think they're.
Yes.
Community Social Service, one of those. I think it's Community Support Services, but just as long as we're clear that we know where it's going. So thank you for clarifying that. I think that name is wrong, but if council is willing, we can allow our CAO to amend the motion to put the correct name in, so that we're not. And then next year when it comes up again, we'll have it.
We'll have it right next year. Yes.
So any other questions about this? Are you ready for the question? Is there any opposition to this motion? All right, hearing none, I will declare it carried. Thank you. And that brings us to correspondence.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, there is one more item in.
Oh, I'm sorry,
business.
just a second. I've got to. Before correspondence, there's another item.
Yes, so in business matters, item 14.2 is volunteer and staff appreciation event. I just wanted to speak to that briefly.
Okay, I apologize. That's not in my package, but
There is no motion. It's just an item on the agenda, Mr. Mayor.
oh, all right. So it was back on the agenda page, was it?
It's on the agenda, yes.
Oh, all right. I'm sorry. I have now scrolled past that document so I apologize. Please go ahead and
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
introduce it.
Yeah, I
Madam
wanted
CAO.
to talk to council, but I preface this by saying I don't have a solution. I just want to introduce the subject. The municipality, as you know, has had a very much well-received and much loved staff and volunteer and staff appreciation dinner. We didn't do one in 2020. We didn't do one in 2021. And the thought is that we consider doing some sort of event this year. The challenge is we appear to have outgrown the community center. When we did the addition, all in, there's 126 people to accommodate. That includes staff, volunteers, and the fire department and council, of course. And that doesn't even include the partners. We looked at our table settings over previous years, and we had 14 tables of 8 people per table. And I think in times we squeezed in 9 if there was an odd number of people attending. And that gives us seating for 112, which actually exceeds the number of council members, volunteers, and staff and fire department folks combined. So as I said, I don't have an answer. I don't have a solution, but it appears that we may not be able to have an event this year if everybody wants to show up. Of course, we have an environmental stewardship committee this year that added to the numbers. Lots of wonderful library volunteers. We have, I'm just trying to think. Our recreation committee has expanded by 1 or 2 people. The thrift shop committee comes and goes, but there's still a good number of people that participate there. And of course, we have 25 or 24 folks for the fire department. And we have 2 people on our Wabakes task force. So that is our dilemma. We'd like to plan something this year, and I'm just planting the seed for council to perhaps give some thoughts to how we could have an event to honor the volunteers. So that's all I have, Mr. Fair. I just wanted council to know that we're starting to think about this, and as we get closer to the summer, we start getting a little bit more organized with the event, because it takes a bit of an effort, but we are approaching summer, and before we know it, we'll be in September. And thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gore Matthews, were you going to?
Yeah, I was
Comment
just
or-
going to comment, would we have more space in the Dundo if we were to do instead, because normally we time this around Christmas, but if we were to do something earlier and make it an outdoor event, that would give us more space, because then we could use the green space as well as in the Dundo. Is that an option?
Absolutely. The Dundome, I don't have the numbers here, but I recall talking to our fire chief, and actually he's on the line, and he may know the number, but it strikes me it's over 300, a capacity of over 300. So you're right, some sort of an outdoor event, barbecue, late in the summer or early fall when the weather is still good is certainly an option.
Okay, thanks. Are there any other questions or comments on this particular item?
I'm, Mr. Mayor?
Councillor Lamb.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting this, but what popped into my mind initially was if you were going to hold it as we normally do, I think in November. And I think Councillor Gore Matthews' idea of in the Dundome may be the answer, but if you've outgrown the space, first thing that comes to mind is the spouses, right? Maybe you just have to invite the volunteers themselves. I think that's not a perfect solution at all, but I mean, would we be able to accommodate people if it was just the volunteers? Is, I guess, my question. And again, I'm not promoting that as a solution. I'm just saying that's what came to mind initially.
I would say if I go by the number of tables in the seating plan that was developed previously, It allowed for about 112 people, and you could probably build that to 120 if you wanted to for the community center. And there's 126 total staff, council, volunteers, fire department personnel. The other thing we need to do is make sure we add in, which we haven't done, is our Order of Whitestone recipient, and they usually invite, obviously their spouse, but they have in the past invited their an extra 5 people, family members, to help them or to be there to watch them
Yeah.
receive that honor.
Yeah, that's great.
Mr. Mayor?
Councillor McEwen.
Yeah, it seems to me, thinking of the Thanksgiving dinners in the past, the actual hall capacity is more like 170, 165, 170 or something. So I guess it's the organization or the arrangement of tables and such, which is an issue at this point. I think they cram in a lot more people than 120, for instance, at the old Thanksgiving dinner scenarios. So maybe worth looking at something there. I like the idea of maybe the Dundome too. That's a good comment. We certainly have 3 sets of speakers and a sound system that could be set up around the Dundome and around the yard a little bit to accommodate something down there if we got serious about it being an outside event.
I can share with you the capacity that I have written down here of the community center is 178. And I think you're right that we might be able to squeeze in a few more tables, but typically it's a buffet and we need space for the buffet and we need space for the tables for the prizes. So that eats up space in the community center, which restricted us to the 14 tables for the event.
Yeah, if I could, that's probably a good number when you think of the buffet style, which is going back to Thanksgiving dinner again. I think the actual seating for a complete shift is only 125 or 130 or something. So, yeah, good point.
Okay, anything else on this item? Well, I guess we will hear more about it in the near future, especially if we're going to do something earlier in the year. So that brings us then to correspondence. And tonight we have only 2 items, I believe. A motion from Town of Arnprior, support for humanitarian efforts in Ukraine. And a letter from the Minister of Northern Development, Mines, Natural Resources and Forestry regarding proposed regulation changes under the Aggregate Resources Act. So let me ask first, does anyone wish to discuss any of those items? Councillor Lamb, did you wish? No? Oh,
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
oh, okay. All right. So can I get a mover and seconder, please, to receive these items for information?
I'll make the motion, Councillor Lamb.
Thank you.
I'll second. And Mr. Mayor, if I could have one little comment before we finish it.
Councillor McEwen. All right, it's been moved and seconded. What would you like to talk about?
I just noticed in the McKellar sign recognition for Ukraine. I thought it was quite appealing when I came through the village just the other night. And this is what it's kind of all about, the humanitarian effort for Ukraine or in Ukraine. So just to note it at least, whether we do something about it, maybe we could do something similar for a couple different viewings if we need some items on our new board to recognize Ukraine, just as a thought.
Okay, thank you. Any response from our CAO?
No comment. I will make note of what they have on their message board when I drive home tonight. Hopefully it's still there. And if that's, is it just a message of support, Councillor McEwen, or is it looking for, fundraising?
If I could, Mr. Mayor, I believe it was just a recognition of support. No fundraising activity around it that I'm aware of or that I saw. Thank you.
Okay. If there's nothing else about correspondence, I will ask if, I'll just call the motion is anyone opposed to receiving these two items? Okay, thank you. So under matters arising from correspondence, I will just put McKellar sign support for Ukraine. Right. So the next item, I guess I should go back to the beginning of my agenda. So I don't miss, but I believe the next item is councillor items. Am I correct? Go a little further up here.
That is correct, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, councillor items. All right, so
Mr. Mayor?
actually, Councillor Gorham Matthews had her
Oh,
hand
okay.
up first, so I'll get her
Sorry.
and then I'll get you, Councillor Lamb. And
Sorry, okay, thank you.
then I have one, I think, and there might be some others. Go ahead, Councillor Gorham
Thank
Matthews.
you. Yeah, I won't be long. I just wanted to let the council and the rest of the community remind you of a few events that are coming up. The library is having its grand opening this Saturday. It's beginning in the community center at 11. There'll be some remarks there and then move over to the library for refreshments and a ribbon cutting. So, and having a tour and whatnot. So the community is invited out to that this Saturday. Also, another library and agricultural event is this Thursday evening. You can do in person or on Zoom at 6 o'clock at the community center. There's a soil workshop. Midlothian Farms, which is a organic farm over by Berks Falls, is running a session on keeping your soil healthy so that you can grow plants. And one other item for the community to keep in mind as well is on June the 4th is the Ardbeg Community Club grand opening as well. It's up from 11 till 2, I believe. So the community is invited up. There's going to be a barbecue and games and music. You can tour the newly renovated hall if you haven't been there yet. It looks pretty amazing. So you can come and see what a lot of hard work and volunteer hours looks like in the community. And just to add on to what Councillor McEwen had mentioned about the Ukraine, the Rotary Club in Parry Sound, if everyone isn't aware of this, is collecting household items for the families that have come to the Parry Sound district. And you can drop those items off. I believe it's on Wednesday afternoons at the old CN station. One item that the Lions Club learned that in particular they need will be bicycles for the families, because it is difficult to get a driver's license and whatnot in a new country. So just paperwork and everything. So if we could kind of keep in mind as you're going through your sheds and doing a spring cleaning that they could use donations of that sort. So those are all my items. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Lamb was next.
Yeah, hi, thank you. Yeah, I guess I've been thinking a lot as I've got lots of calls and emails and things, and about the Lorimer Lake Lodge and the so-called, I guess, draining of the wetlands. Certainly our community is electrified by this item. And, you know, as I look at it, there's a lot of accurate information, and there's some inaccurate information. And I know that we from a municipality have been trying hard. I know Michelle has been to kind of corral all this with the various ministries, etc. And I think there's a void right now, and that void is always filled up with whatever people think, and then people take off on Facebook or whatever, and you have 42 comments, and some of them against the lodge and some against contractors, etc. So I think I would like to make a not a motion, but a kind of a staff direction that perhaps staff make a report that would come back to us in public at our next meeting, which I think is June the 7th, which would outline sort of several things. How we got to where we did. I guess these lands at one point were environmentally protected. And then through an exercise in 2018, they became not environmentally protected. And I think we need to understand that. I think we need to understand the facts behind the various ministries and their positions on all this, and get that out in public. I also think we need to get some advice from our planner as to what we can do within our current documents, the official plan and the zoning bylaw, or quite frankly, outside of it, what can we do in order to at least talk about environmentally protected land in the future, and what remedies perhaps that council could talk about in terms of the future. So that's a mouthful, but I think that it's time that we got ahead of this thing as best we can, because I don't think right now we have a lot of tools in our tool bag, but we need to discuss it. We need to get it out in the open, whatever it is. People may like it, people may not like it, but at least the truth and the facts will be out there. So again, long-winded, but I would ask that staff please come back and our planner on June the 7th with a report and a discussion that would be in public on this whole matter. So, and of course, this should be divorced completely from any other application coming forward on any other properties. Would just deal with the Lorimer Lake Resort. So, okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hopefully I would have support of the rest of the council to support that staff report, I guess.
Are there any other comments that councillors want to make about that item? Councillor McEwen.
Yes, I support Councillor Lamb totally. I think it's time we attempt to get the good information out there, and whether it's exactly what everyone want to hear, hopefully we can get some satisfaction out of it and semblance of order. I think we're way past time to get the information summarized and reported on. I think we owe that to the municipality. Thank you.
Any other comments? Councillor Norm Matthews?
Yes, I completely support this as well. I think, things have have gone on for quite a while, and I think that there's been a lot of due diligence on the part of our staff in trying to ascertain exactly what is happening and what our options are. And, you know, I think a lot of work has gone into this that is all behind the scenes that we haven't been able to share with the public. So it makes it look like we're not doing anything. And myself, I don't know everything that staff has discovered or learned as well. So I think we're at the stage now that hopefully all the information is ready to be put into staff report, and we can have a discussion about this. I fully support this idea.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor,
Councillor Woods.
I agree with everything that the rest of council has said. It's time. We need to get as much accurate information out as possible and try and help everyone understand what happened and how it happened and why it happened. So I would support that fully.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I was going to say myself that, you know, because I've been on the receiving end of many emails and a few phone calls from folks, and certainly there is a large level of concern here. I did respond to a few people to say to them, well, we're trying to get the facts, and we're also trying to see if any of the other provincial or federal agencies that would normally have jurisdiction in these matters would be engaged. And in fact, some of them have been engaged to varying degrees. So we were kind of waiting to see if we would get what we would get from, or what we would hear back from them. But I think we have all the information at this stage of the game that we're going to get. So it's a question of putting it together, and probably the best way to deal with it is to have it on the agenda of a council meeting, and so we can provide a report that will summarize what has actually happened and what others have commented on, and then we can then everybody will know where have the same base of information going forward. So I think this is the right approach. Are there any other councillor items? I will mention one. The Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, is meeting in Ottawa on the, I guess it starts on the 14th, a couple of days, 14th of August. And the registration for that is on right now. In the previous years, the last 2 years, the meetings have been virtual meetings. Last year's meeting was supposed to be in Ottawa, but it ended up being a virtual meeting, not a physical meeting. So the CAO and I both registered for that event and participated in it virtually. It's quite useful. There are a lot of very good presentations on things that are coming up in the municipal world, and opportunities to meet with various cabinet ministers or representatives of the different ministries, and we have been taking advantage of those. Just wanted to let you know it is our intention to that is for the CAO to and I to participate this year in the virtual in the physical. It's now a physical meet, going to be back to a physical meeting, and so to put it out there for information, that takes place, as I say, in the middle of August. Doesn't conflict with the council meeting. But anyway, are there any other Councillor items.
Mr. Mayor, I have
Yes.
a real quick one.
Sure.
I had a couple of people ask me, and I noticed myself the last time I was out towards Alds Road. There's a big excavator that the crews are using to pull garbage back and whatnot. Somebody asked me, "Oh, do we own that?" I said, "No, I don't think we do. I don't think we've ever purchased a big backhoe like that." I said, "I'm assuming it's a rental." And the question that was asked of me is, if we're renting it, how much would we be paying? I said, "I don't know, no idea." Well, wouldn't it be better if we looked into purchasing one if we've been renting one so often? I was just wondering if maybe staff could get an email to us, maybe about how much we've spent on a rental or what we intend on spending on a rental for a machine that size, and see if it would be feasible to possibly look at purchasing one in the future.
Okay, I see that our manager of Public Works is no longer on the call, or otherwise I would ask him if he wants to comment, but probably best to have that come back as a question for a reply at a later date.
I've made note of that. I can confirm it is a rental, and it's rented for a couple of months. It does everything from the work at the landfills to the ditching projects and some of the other culvert work that's planned. However, I'll ask Dave to do a report or a memo to council, because we have run the numbers to look at the cost of a purchase plus maintenance costs versus rental for 2 to 3 months. So I'll give that to our Public Works manager, and you'll see something in the near future.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Mayor, just a quick
Yes.
one.
Sure, Councillor McEwen.
I don't know if other councilors or staff have had reports of nails in tires at Ald's, the old landfill site. I've had a couple of comments, and I inquired with the staff at the York landfill just this past week, and we do have a magnet unit on wheels that will pick up metal, which is steel, magnetized items. I guess there's an inherent problem with aluminum nails, roofing nails, and such things that can be left out there. And the comment was that in the summer, they pay special attention to it with the summer staff, who will take regular times to go around, and they pick up a pile of nails for some reason. I guess because we do the delivery of construction type material to York Street, or pardon me, to Ald's now. There's very little problem, I guess, none at York Street. So I just wonder if staff could look into that a little closer and maybe give us some information on how they're handling that item. Thank you.
Okay, another item for our Works Department. You have a note of that, Madam CIO?
I do. Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right. So if there is there are no other council
Mr. Mayor?
items. Oh, sorry, Councilman,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, maybe I can pick up on what you were talking about in the AMO. So there's an AMO meeting that's in person, not virtual, in August. And you and the CAO are attending that meeting. Is that what I understand?
That is the plan if things work out. Yes,
And where is the meeting?
it's in Ottawa.
Okay, so all the years I've been on council, whether it's Good Roads or going to Toronto or going to conferences like this, and the people who are going, we're just not told as a council, here we're going. What happens is that comes to council for approval as a motion. And as part of that, we say, and it's covered all your expenses and all that kind of stuff. It just doesn't get announced in councilor items at the end of a meeting. That's been the procedure when we're sending our road superintendent, when they used to have good roads and other things, when I've gone down to Toronto, or you, Mr. Mayor, have gone down and delegated. There is a process for us to follow. And I would ask that we follow that process before we just say, okay, great, go ahead. And again, I'm not necessarily commenting at this point whether I'm for or against that, but I just find it strange that we're just being told that, as opposed to following, what I think has been our procedure for many, many years. Thank you.
All right, well, if that's the wish of council, I will ask if there would be a mover and seconder to authorize us to attend the AMO in Ottawa, August
Well,
14th to 16th.
I don't think you do that at the end of a council meeting and under council items. I think the agenda of AMO and what particularly you'd be attending, and what, all that kind of stuff has always come forward to council as a separate item in a council meeting, so that the public knows about it and it's on an agenda. Like, that's all I'm asking, is we follow whatever, not approve something at the very end of a council meeting based on this. This is a long, heck, all the time I've been on council, that's what we've done. And I just don't think it's the right way to do it. So thank you.
Okay, well, I would acknowledge that I used to see motions like this during my first term on council, but in the current term of the council, we haven't done it, and I'll tell you why. There are deadlines for two things. First of all, there's deadlines to register, after which, if there is hotel accommodation and so on involved, then it becomes sometimes becomes problematic, because they only have a certain size room book, and they have early bird deadlines and this kind of thing. But the other thing is that there are also very early deadlines to register for delegations. And admittedly, the last two meetings of both AMO and Roma have been, because those are the two conferences that we attend typically, those have been virtual meetings. So the cost to delegate them or to join them is relatively small, but the deadlines come very quickly. There's very little notice if you want to get a delegation. So we had to commit to delegations, before there was really adequate time to prepare what we were doing. And you may recall that in each case, when there was a delegation, I'll make sure that we advised council of it, and it was in fact done under council items. So I believe that I was following the procedure that council wanted. My concern is that if we leave this to the meeting in June, we may preclude ourselves from, if we don't approve it now, we may preclude ourselves from getting a delegation at least. And we may, I was looking the other day and I noticed that the two main hotels that are booked for are the room blocks are already gone. So
But in terms,
the longer the point is, the longer we leave it, the more it's the more likelihood it doesn't make sense for us to go. And I guess if that's,
well,
I think it's important. It is important for us to go.
Okay, and I would somewhat argue that we've always gone to AMO. You may have attended it virtually the last year or two, but there's not a long history of us attending AMO. But having said that, you and the clerk control the agenda. You could have put that publicly on the agenda as an item to discuss tonight. And we could have discussed it, and we could have seen what you're delegating, what you're why you want to go, what exactly, we could have had a public discussion on this. Now we don't. And I guess if council just wants to approve it, then I guess someone make a motion and approve it. I will not be approving it because I don't think it was done right. And again, I don't want to be into a big argument over the thing. I just don't think that we should be told at the end of the meeting that you and the clerk are going. I don't think it's right. So, and if there's time, then it should have been put on the agenda properly.
Well,
Thank you.
all right, I did intend to put it on the agenda, but it didn't make it there, so,
Well, then there's no excuse to do it the
so-
way we're doing it.
well. Anyway, I guess it's the will of council. I can bring it back in a future agenda item if we. I honestly can't remember without pulling up all the material, if we will have missed by June 6th, we will have missed the delegation window. That's my main concern, I guess, but because the notice did come out, I saw it already. And I guess if we're not going to have a delegation, then there's probably not much, that takes away part of it's an opportunity that we don't otherwise get to meet with certain government ministers, so. What is the wish of the other councillors? All
Mr.
right,
Mayor,
fine, I will, sorry,
Counselor
Councilor
Gorman, you had her
McKinnon.
hand up. I have a comment.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, does this fall under council training that we've already budgeted for? It's not something that is going to throw the budget off. It's something that we've already planned the expense for.
I believe there is money. I will ask the CIO to respond to that because
I'm just looking at the budget. There is money in travel, $750. There is $2,000 in council miscellaneous. And there's some money in staff travel expenses, not a lot, $500. And then training expenses, there's enough for staff. I will comment that for me, I do have an interest in AMO. The timing is very close to nomination day, which is August 19th. So I will be on the fence as to whether I should attend in Ottawa and be away from the office when we're that close to nomination day. So that's my comment from my perspective because of what's happening this year in the municipality. It's important for the clerk to be present. It's also important for the CAO to participate in the AMO conference. So that's my position on attending. I'd like to, but I need to make sure that everything is in order here in the office. Thank you.
okay, thanks. Councillor McEwen, did you ever?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I did see the notice coming forward in email format on the AMO announcement. Maybe moving forward, as Councilor Lamb is alluding to, we should be informed by way of a discussion prior, if at all possible, at council meetings or as an information thing. Quite possible that for some of these sessions, maybe another councillor would be interested in going as well. We certainly haven't extended budgets in the last couple of years by going to conferences. So there must be a few bucks kicking around someplace if someone wanted to go to a Good Roads or an AMO or something. We really haven't been doing much outreach that way, but I think moving forward, we just should be a little more cognizant of upfront information if possible. Thank you.
Okay, well, we can put them back on the, we can go back to, if it's council's wish, we can go back to the practice. Now, mind you, this is the last one that will happen in this calendar year. The last few years, we have not gone to Good Roads. Nobody's gone. But we have gone consistently to both ROMA, the Rural Ontario Municipalities Association, which is in usually the end of January. And you've had reports from us on what was discussed at those meetings. So, and we have gone to AMO, and we have had delegations with ministers at all of them. You know, which in general helps us to get some support for provincial funding for various things, and helps us to be aware of opportunities for that kind of thing. So anyway, I'll let it go for now, and we'll see. Because I don't have time to right now to I don't want to hold up the meeting to go and pull all the details up for it. And see what the timing is. We're at questions from the public. Are there questions from the public?
Yeah, hello, Mr. Mayor. It's Scott Nash. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you, Scott.
Good. I just had a really quick question. It actually just came out of what you guys have just talked about there. I didn't think there'd be any questions, and I can't believe it's only 8 o'clock and you guys are almost done. So I think that's great also. But my quick question was, you'd said about delegations at the conference. So I assume that you'd thought of a couple delegations that would be there. So I was just wondering what those delegations might be for. If you can share that with the public, what you're thinking of doing delegations for at the AMO. Thank you.
To give you an idea, the subject of the delegations that we've had in recent years have centered around several issues that have been raised in council on numerous occasions. One of them, of course, is the whole subject of regional rural broadband, which we would not likely be looking to do a delegation on at this point, because we have there has been some action as a result of a lot of delegations, not just ours. And there has been a project approved with some joint federal provincial funding to extend backbone fiber internet and internet to the premise to people that are along the Highway 124 corridor. That's the easiest quick way I can describe it to you. Basically from Parry Sound to Dunchurch. So this will serve the the municipalities of McKellar and Dunchurch. The fiber itself isn't going to go very far beyond that, what I'd call the corridor. But anyway, this is a result of a joint, a couple of joint activities that we've had going for some time in the background with the township of McKellar, because they have exactly the same problem with respect to broadband that we do. We probably have a much larger territory, but in terms of population, we're not too far off. So the two municipalities, and we're the most in West Parry Sound. We are probably the most unserviced areas at the moment. So that's an example of one of them. Another one had to do with water levels in the Magnetawan River system, which, as you may recall, caused some flooding in our municipality on on Wawashkesh back in 2018. And in other municipalities in West Prairie Sound and on the east side at the same time when that huge spring flood that we had, the last one. And we did succeed, I think, in getting the government to be to introduce a number of other measures. And by the way, we're still working on that. So we've had more than one delegation in connection with different aspects of that. And I'll just mention a third one. I don't want to go on endlessly, but there's a third one of particular concern has had to do with the area to the west of Ardbeg, if you go along the Clear Lake Road. So we're talking about the Crown Land area that is at Black Lake, Round Lake, that is frequented by off-road vehicles and so on the weekends. And we've had one specifically to do with Bolger Landing and problems that folks have had there maintaining that trail that runs from the hydro right of way into Bolger Landing. It's referred to as Semacoca Trail. And again, council has had a very detailed report on that. But that was a subject of a delegation, and there's still some work ongoing as a result of that, but hopefully we'll have a report for you that summarizes what got accomplished there in the near future. But so that's those are the kinds of issues that we raise. I could see other potential ones that we could have, for example, with respect to as you know, there's a major transition, as I hope you know, there's a major transition taking place towards producer responsibility for recyclable materials. And that's going to affect going forward our landfill operations and in various ways that we probably don't really know at this particular point in time, but there's been that's another subject that has been the subject of delegations from municipalities, not from us but from others, that are seeking to look at specific situations that they face that maybe wouldn't get taken care of by arrangements that are suitable in larger municipalities. So that might be something that we would do more at Roma, I'm guessing, but it also depends on the timing of when regulations governing these things are introduced by the government and what they're talking about at the conference. That's where the ideas come from.
Okay, no, thank
help?
you very much. And maybe I misunderstood, or maybe it was a question. I thought you'd have to submit what a delegation would be for the purpose of the delegation to see if somebody wanted to talk about it. So I was trying to find out what those might be at this upcoming the municipal conference, not what's been done in the past, but it sounds like it's just a delegation. You guys can talk to them about anything. I take it. Thanks a lot.
Okay, are there other questions from the public?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, it's Gary Monahan.
Gary, go ahead, please.
Thank you for taking my question in. And some of my thunder was already taken when Councilor Lamb brought up that you're going to have a greater discussion next council meeting on the Lorimer Lake Resort and the issues around it. I wanted to bring up about the zoning in particular, because as I mentioned last council meeting, that we felt it's a separate issue as the change came in 2018 prior to the change in the ownership of the resort. And back in 2018, there was a number of properties that were affected. And I know one of the neighbors of the resort spotted the change and went to the municipality and got the zoning corrected on their property. And that's all we're looking for is is for it to be corrected. And as I said, we feel it's a separate issue. Obviously, it's related, but because it predated the resort, it's going back and saying, was this a correct thing to do? And if not, return it back to EP. And just want to thank you for all the councillors' concerns about this, and in particular, thank Michelle, because I've sent her endless emails, and so and taken up her valuable time. So I appreciate what she's done. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I think we can assume that the concern that you just raised, Gary, will be addressed in the report to council.
Yeah, that'd be terrific. It was good to hear Councillor Lamb bring that up and the other councillors support that, and we'll be looking forward to the next meeting. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Other questions from the public? All right. If there are no further questions, I will. So I'm just trying to get the motion out here. All right, I will ask for a mover then for our confirmatory bylaw. And a seconder.
I'll make the motion, Counselor Lamb.
Councillor Lamb. Seconder,
I'll second Council McEwen.
that bylaw 31-2022 being the confirmatory bylaw for the council meeting of Tuesday, May 7th, 2022 will be given a first, second, third, and final reading and is passed as of this date. Is anyone opposed to this motion? All right, hearing none. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn at the unbelievable hour of 8:13 p.m.
I'll move, Councillor Woods.
Thank you, Councillor Woods. Seconded by
I'll second.
Councillor Gorham Matthews, seconds. So if there is no objection to that motion, we stand adjourned until the regular council meeting of June 7th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Good
Night,
evening.
everyone.
Night. Thank you.
Good night.